Mr. Femi Adesina, the Special Advisor to His Excellency, Mr. President. 2 approvals have been granted to us by the Federal Executive Council presided by His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari. The first one is on the Nigeria Startup Bill, which is an exciting news to our innovators all over the country, particularly those working within the tech industry. The Federal Executive Council has approved the Nigeria Startup Bill and has also directed my humble self, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, and also the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice to ensure that we immediately liaise and transmit them to the National Assembly to begin their legislative process of converting it into a law. And by this, the Nigeria Startup Bill has replaced our National Digital Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Startup Policy. And this bill has 11 chapters, and all of them have been crafted in order to provide the enabling environment for our startups to be very successful. Firstly, the bill will establish the National Council for Digital Innovation and Entrepreneurship. This council is going to be chaired by His Excellency, Mr. President himself. And part of the council, he will be supported also by His Excellency, the Vice President, and I will also support both of them. And many relevant ministers and government parastatals are part of the council. Furthermore, there is also the operational structure of the council in which all the relevant institutions that have a role to play in providing the enabling environment for our startups to thrive are part and parcel of this operational structure. Furthermore, the bill also addresses startup labeling process, where a startup is going to be labeled, and after that, there is eligibility for grant. If a startup is looking for government grant, there is a process to follow, which is very easy, and at the end, government will be able to provide the grant. And also there is a process of issuance, the certificate of labeling for the startup. In addition to that, the bill also will establish startup investment seed fund, where there is going to be a dedicated fund to be provided by the federal government for our young innovators all over the country to apply for the startup investment seed fund in order to begin their own process if they need that. In addition also, there is also tax and fiscal incentives where government will provide tax holiday, where government will support our startups to even liaise with international or multi-tech giants globally so that government will provide tax where necessary, will provide incentives where necessary. Also, there is a chapter dedicated to regulators where they have been mandated to come up with initiatives of promoting developmental regulation. Because today, many investors and young innovators consider regulators that they are doing nothing but restricting the development of their startup. But this bill comes up with an initiative to provide what is called developmental regulation, where regulators must make the regulation very flexible to support our innovators all over the country. And also in the bill, there is a plan to establish national parks all over the country, national hubs, where innovators will go and incubate their ideas and many more. Also, there is provision for data protection, where your data is going to be protected. And also there is provision for intellectual property rights. So any intellectual property you have, that must be protected by government. So there are many provisions where even a young startup doesn't have one kobo, government will support him through seed fund, government will provide an avenue or an environment for him to come and work on his startup, and also government is willing to support him when he gets any international partnership. This startup, Nigeria Startup Bill, is an outcome of a very long process between the Office of the Chief of Staff to Mr. President and the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, where we organized many stakeholder engagement forums in each and every zone of the Federation. We brought together young innovators, we listened to their complaints to government, and we articulated their complaints in this bill. So this bill has adopted what is called organic approach to legislation, where we begin with a bottom-up approach. So the idea started from the grassroots up to the level of the Federal Executive Council, in which all the observations of our young innovators have been accommodated in the startup, and they are the owners of it. So this is, in summary, the first memo that has been approved by the Federal Executive Council. The second one is for the procurement of 4 passenger lifts by the Nigerian Communications Commission for the headquarters office here in Maitama, Abuja. The Federal Executive Council has approved the replacement of the 4 passenger lifts in the headquarters office, looking at the dilapidated situation of them in order to make the environment more conducive for staff to work effectively. These are the 2 memos presented. Thank you very much.
Today, the Ministry of Power and the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning presented 2 joint memos regarding the Presidential Power Initiative. The first memo that we presented to Council was seeking Council approval for the engagement of Africa Finance Corporation, AFC, as transaction advisors with third-party consultants for the implementation of the Presidential Power Initiative Phase 1. So the AFC, the transaction advisors, their fee is $800,000 and the transaction period is for 18 months, and this includes their reimbursable expenses. The second component is the engagement of third-party consultants, and this includes local and as well as international legal advisory firms, environmental and social impact assessment consultants, security consultants, insurance advisors, as well as tax and model auditors. And this is collectively, these parties are collectively engaged in the sum of $1,116,312.45. So the objective, of course, of the PPI project is to modernize and upgrade power transmission and distribution infrastructure in Nigeria. The second approval that we got from Council today is still relating to the PPI power project, and the memo was seeking the approval of Council for the award of contracts for the procurement of mobile equipments for the transmission power component of the project, as well as 10 mobile equipments and 10 transformers in favor of Siemens AG. The total cost of the procurement is in the sum of 62,949,447 euros, with a delivery period of 18 months, 12 to 18 months, depending on how we're able to push, because these are equipments that will be manufactured specifically for us. And of course, the focus is to be able to very quickly enhance the power availability and capacity in the country. With this particular approval, we'll be able to expand from the current capacity of 5,000 megawatts to 7,000 megawatts. I must say that my colleague, the Minister of Power, is supposed to be in this press briefing, but His Excellency the President called him for another assignment. Otherwise, he would have been here to speak to you. That's my report.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Let's listen to Minister of Police Affairs, and then we can take all the questions together. We'll take everything together.
Distinguished Honorable Ministers, brothers, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I am particularly very happy today to inform Nigerians through you gentlemen who are here that the Federal Executive Council, under the chairmanship of Mr. President, has approved the review and the upgrading of the take-home pay of police personnel in this country. You will recall that when in October 2020, this country was rocked with end-SARS protests, Mr. President had to address the nation and appeal for calm, after which he promised Nigerians that the salary of police officers will be reviewed, will be improved to enhance their take-home pay in recognition of the services they have been rendering to this country in the areas of maintenance of peace and tranquility. So the Federal Executive Council has today approved these proposals for the review of their salary, which will take effect in January 2022. But we try to avoid a situation where we deal with improving or reviewing the salary scales of police officers. But we have tried to create a situation where the take-home pay will be enhanced through the improvement of issues such as duty tour allowance, which has been reviewed from 6% to reviewed to 60% of the new take-home pay. And Council has also approved payment of 1,120,172 naira 150 kobo for payment as outstanding benefits of personnel for uninsured period of 2023 to 2020. 2013 to 2020, that has not been covered under the group personal accident insurance. It has also approved the release of 13 billion naira, 127,000, 137 million 972 naira 269 naira 20 kobo for payment as outstanding death benefits of 5,472 personnel for the uninsured period of 2023 to 2013, I beg your pardon, to August 2021, not covered under the group life insurance. Council has also approved the payment of the sum of 1 billion, let me say 1.2 billion, as payment for payment as outstanding burial expenses of personnel of the period of January 2012 to 2021. Council has also graciously approved the annual insurance premiums of 750 million naira annually, as well as payment of 4,812,500,000 naira for the repairs and replacement of damaged police infrastructure in future budgets starting from 2022. Council has also approved a tax waiver in the sum of 18 billion 600 million for personnel, junior officers of the police in order to increase their take-home pay. This is going to take effect from October 2021. Similarly, government has also approved the increase of the current rent subsidy, which is currently between 15 to 20%, amounting to 61 billion. Increase is to 40% of the consolidated police salary structure that is composed in the sum of 78 billion 300 million naira. That is to say an increase of about 16 billion 400 million naira. It has also approved payment of an additional 6% shift duty allowance for officers on level 01 to 14 and the supervisors' allowances for officers on level 15 and above. This will come up to about 10 billion and 38 million naira with effect from 2022. Most importantly, government has also approved payment of about 20%. 20% of campus as peculiar allowances to boost morale and take-home pay of the Nigerian police. All these, if they will be computed and a salary structure will be brought up by the Salaries and Wages Commission, which will be adopted by government as soon as possible. Similarly, most of these payments will only be effected when the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation reviews and verifies these figures for payment. It is thereafter that the Accountant General of the Federation will be directed to approve the payment. We can see that with this development now, police will be having a more attractive pay that will be commensurate with what they are doing. What we expect the police to do after this is to redouble their efforts and justify the confidence that Mr. President and the Federal Executive Council has vested in them. As a ministry, we will do whatever it takes to ensure that we improve the performance and the relationship between the police and the public to ensure that they justify this good gesture, this very great history that has been achieved by Mr. President and his administration. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Now, do we have questions?
It appears most of these questions are for the police. I believe the police are your friends. So please join them in this. So the first question is talking about the 20% which I mentioned. This 20% is percentage of the total salary, their total compass as peculiar allowance. It's a new allowance created to improve their take-home pay. I hope I have answered your question. Okay. So somebody is asking whether it has been captured in the 2022 budget. This question should have been directed to the Minister of Finance. And unfortunately, I think the budget is going through final screening by the National Assembly, but we are going to work out what can be done. Yes.
There,
Yes.
she can.
But don't forget, even if we are not able to get it, a supplementary budget that is likely to come at any time. But we still have some work to do. The Auditor General has to audit all these new and these liabilities to ensure that they are correct, and the figures the committee that did the work is correct, and then the National Salaries and Wages Commission also has to work out all these details to come up with. We already have a template of what it's likely going to look like, but the Commission has to go through it again to come up with a final timetable that will reflect the new changes that are going to be called a new salary package for the police. Whether this thing is going to come with a few crises, we don't anticipate that, because even the retirees have something to take home, because some of their benefits are going to be paid, like the death benefits and a lot of other things that are for people who have retired. So they may likely enjoy part of these benefits. After all, everybody is going to retire. So that is why we are trying to ensure that we increase it for the people who are here, so that by the time you retire, you will also benefit from what has been given to you, because it will be reflected into your pension package. So we don't anticipate any crisis from the retirees, and we believe that what we have done, the police in this country deserves this kind of treatment, and they are doing very well. And of course, you cannot perform effectively if motivation such as this one is not extended to you. Somebody talked about the police trust fund. I don't know what you said about the police trust fund. You see, the police trust fund, the Act provides for the provision of infrastructure, police equipment, training, and renovation and building of other facilities of the police. It has nothing to do with salary of the police. So, and I want to assure you that the police trust fund is working on this. And if you go to the police headquarters now, you see the vehicles and the equipment that police trust fund has supplied for the 2020 budget. You are aware that their 2020 budget was only approved in April, I think, or May last year. And they are now working on their 2021 budget. Almost all the procurement processes have been completed. And by the time the contracts are awarded, you will begin to see a lot of things that the police trust fund is providing to the police. So they are on track, and I think they are doing well. No, you see, it's like I said, when you give a police officer a good salary, you will least expect him to stay on the road and start picking or collecting 50 naira, 100 naira from road users. I think this is one of the ways that will improve the relationship between the public and the police. And like I said earlier on, that we are working to ensure that we improve that relationship between the police and Nigerians. Police should be made to understand that they are working for the public, and the public should also understand that the police are there on the road working for them. And it has always been emphasized. It has always been emphasized, but because of lack of this kind of development, very little achievement has been made, and it is hoped that now that government has recorded this history, we believe the situation will change for the better.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.